Welcome to Turning Moments into Movements, where each week we explore simple but powerful wellbeing tips to help you live a balanced and fulfilling life. My name's Leanne, your host and the founder and coach of my business, Happyluya, and I will be taking you through today's 15 minutes of insight and inspiration. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode is actually on a book that I read, I believe last year. And I've decided to do a bit of a review on it within this podcast episode because I read so many books, I listen to so many audios, and I really feel that reading different literature, different books, hearing different experiences, different advice is all really key to supporting our self-development and our well-being. So I would love to continue doing some book reviews. So if you have any recommendations of books that I should read and do reviews on, please let me know. I've already had a few people reach out with suggestions, which is super exciting. And I also literally have a library in my house filled with books. So really excited to share some of my favourite ones with you and the main learning from them as well. So let's get started. So the book that I'm going to be reviewing today is called The Power of When. Not to be confused by The Power of Now, completely different book. Have also read it. So The Power of When is all about time management. And time management is something that I really dived deep into several years ago. And I don't say this lightly, but it really changed my life. I was so stressed all the time, and one of the main reasons was because I didn't have time to do anything other than work. I remember working from home and literally having clean washing lying about. I hadn't put on makeup, just little things that should have only taken a few minutes. I just literally didn't have the time to do it because I was working so many hours. And I had listened to a short excerpt of a book called How to Live on 24 Hours a Day by Arnold, Bennett. And it was a really shortened version of the book. I would definitely love to read it in full. But in effect, he spoke about how typically we sleep for 8 hours a day, we work for 8 hours a day, and then we have 8 hours spare. And that just blew my mind because although I still was working way over 8 hours a day, I probably wasn't working 16 hours consistently every single day. There were a couple of hours here and there that I actually did have, to play with. And when I really did a bit of reflecting, I found that those couple of hours I just was sitting feeling stressed and felt so overwhelmed. I just didn't do anything with those hours. I was wasting time. And it really gave me the motivation to dive into time management because I really wanted to have an understanding around when someone's so busy, like I was, and they don't have much time to their disposal, how can you use time as effectively and efficiently as possible? And I did so much exploration around this. I took courses, I read books. The one that I'm about to talk about, I read latterly, and it gave me so much insight around how we can use time to our advantage. No matter how busy we are, we will find time for the things that really truly matter. And by all means, some of my experiments were quite quirky. I remember literally doing a face mask whilst doing the dishes, whilst listening to, oh my gosh, what was I listening to? I was listening to a recorded training of something that had happened at work that I hadn't been able to attend live. And I'm not saying that multitasking is the way to go, because, you know, sometimes that can be of more detriment. But I was finding ways to navigate and manipulate my time in a way where I was actually able to get stuff done. And it was so effective. It's literally changed my life. One area that I will be talking about is also reflecting on when to do certain things. And that's maybe actually a really good opening to introduce the book, because this is where kind of that final part that I was really struggling with came into play. So The Power of When is by a sleep doctor called Michael Breus. And what he speaks about is, he talks about how everyone has a different chronotype. And typically there are 4 different chronotypes within the wider population. And what he does is he characterises these chronotypes based on animals and their sleeping patterns and eating patterns. So he breaks the 4 chronotypes down into bears, wolves, dolphins, and lions. And this will all make sense as I continue. So in effect, chronotypes is body clocks. So, you know, when people say, oh, you know, your body clock is the thing that wakes you up in the morning, and it's the way that, you know, decides when you're hungry and things like that. That's very true. But what a lot of people don't know, and I included myself in that, is people have different body clocks. There's not just one body clock, there's actually 4. And this is based on a lot of research that Dr. Michael Breus dived into. He did so much research, so much studying with his clients, and was able to develop this understanding around body clocks and when to do things that's going to be different for everyone. So the start of the book introduces this concept. It then has a quiz. Now, the quiz is in the book, but what I would actually recommend is to do the online quiz. And I will put that in the show notes. It's free of charge. It's on Dr. Breus's website. So I would really encourage you to have a look at that. And also have a look at the quiz, because that will tell you what specific chronotype you are. After you learn your chronotype, it will tell you, the book will tell you what specific characteristics, what specific traits you have within that chronotype. And I swear, I was so accurate. I was really surprised with how accurate it was able to kind of tell me how I was and how I functioned day to day. It also, I did the quiz on my sister. Hers was really accurate, and the more people I speak to, the more people are blown away with how accurate this research really is. Now, to preserve Dr. Michael Breus's work, I'm not going to read out anything specifically from the book. I would really encourage you to go and read it. But what he does cover is, as I say, the typical traits of the 4 different types of chronotypes. He also helps you to identify them through the quiz. He explains what a chronotype is, and I must say a lot more effectively than I have, but that's his level of expertise. He also then breaks, and this is the bit I really love, he does the ideal day in a life off. So he will break down how you could ideally function throughout your day. And he breaks these into different subheadings. So he does things like relationships. So when's the best time to have challenging conversations with your partner? When's the best time to go for a run in line with your specific body clock? He talks about health. So when's the best time, for women to go for a mammogram? When's the best time to see a therapist? This book is so intricate. It's unbelievable. And what I really love about this is he really, in effect, and this isn't verbatim, but in my head, what I translate it as is really focusing on energy levels. So for me, I'm a lion. That was the quiz. I love lions, so I was buzzing with that result. But what I really found was it's basically someone who's a morning person. So I am typically one of those annoying people that bounce out of bed ready for the day. And what I found really interesting is his recommendations around when I should communicate, when I should problem solve, when I should interact, has literally helped me to unlock so much, not only for myself, but for my business. A prime example of this is I was doing quite a lot of my Happy-luya, my business, Happy-luya, a lot of my business work at night after work. And I just, oh my gosh, the effort it took, the time it took to do the simplest tasks just were not effective. But now I do them all in the morning. As soon as I'm up, I'm out of bed, I do some quick exercise. I follow the 20-20-20 model. If you've not listened to that episode, that's 3 ways to elevate your life. So make sure you follow that. But after I do my morning routine, basically, I jump straight into work mode. And ideally, I finish my working day sort of late afternoon. And I'll maybe do a couple of things in the evening. I tend to get like a burst of energy during that time. But he has taught me when to do certain tasks when my energy is going to feel more aligned. And honestly, what a friggin' game changer. So an example is when I'm like problem solving with my business, when I'm looking at strategic work, I will do it in probably about a quarter of the time in comparison to when I was doing it at night time. Now, really reflect on the impact that has, not only on my business, because I'm getting things done strategically, I'm getting things done quickly and more promptly, my energy's at a high level, so I'm feeling really good about myself. And it saves time because I'm not taking, say, 1 hour to do this task at night when my energy levels are just not there. My body clock is wanting to wind down and it's just not the right time for me to do this specific task. I can literally smash out the same task in 15 minutes based on this book. And it is just such a game changer. I absolutely love this book. It's honestly something I talk about so frequently. And what I also like is it's very prescriptive, so it will literally say between, for example, like between the hours of 10 and 12, this is when your social interactions will be at the highest. At 10:15, this is when you should have your first morning coffee. And he'll explain the reasons why, which I'm not going to go into specifically today because it is such a big book. But it's really prescriptive. So if you really want to follow this and get the most out of it, it will give you that guidance. What I also like, however, is he does say, if you have a routine that's working, don't go and change it. Like, it's not necessary to change it. He also has said that, sometimes life gets in the way and we can't actually follow the schedule. So an example was when I was in full-time employment, it was saying that I should basically be logging off about, I think it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I wasn't due to finish until 5. So I just couldn't follow his routine. But what I was able to do was I was able to take a much later lunch break. So all my work and productivity was mostly done in the mornings. I then had a later lunch when the book suggested I was about to kind of flag and get really tired, and it was spot on. It was literally like clockwork. So then I was able to manipulate my lunch break, so I was able to take that break when my brain power was just starting to go down again. And then it kind of gave me a little bit more of a spark for the remaining of the task that I had. So you can really use it to your advantage, and it's something that, as I say, has really helped me to navigate my time management skills way more effectively. And I always say this, but time is one of the most valuable things we have. It's not something that we can borrow, steal, take back. It's something that everyone has. It's a universal currency. How beautiful is that? So when we frame it like that, like, what do you want to do with your time? How do you want to change your life with using tips like this to really support your ability to manage time as effectively as possible and start doing the things that you want to do? You know, having time to go to the gym, having time to spend time with family and friends, making the time to engage in self-care, making the time to do a course that initially you never thought you had time to do, but you actually do now because you just manage your time differently and you still get everything done. How amazing is that? This book is honestly phenomenal. I will put the direct link in the show notes. Please make sure that you go and buy this book, guys. It is honestly so great. I love it. But yes, full credit to Dr. Michael Breus, PhD. As I say, I will put his credits down in the show notes, his website, the quiz, the link to the book as well, just to make sure that he also gets, credit for this episode, because it's all based on his work. Thank you so much for listening. Keep in touch, and I look forward to speaking to you all next week. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Turning Moments into Movements. Why not check out coaching opportunities with me so you can really begin to enhance your moments into huge movements and begin to live the life you never thought possible? Details are in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave a review and share this episode. Remember to also follow me on social media platforms through my handle Happyluya, where you will receive additional daily content. And finally, make sure you join us next week for more tips on how you can turn your small moments into life-changing movements.